All right, everybody. Welcome back to On the Board. We are back after a bit of a long break, and we've got everybody. Welcome
NBA
back to On the
playoffs
Board are starting tonight. We've got the play-in going in about 20 minutes here, and we're gonna be going through these matchups, going through tonight's matchups, and just giving our input here. All right. So first up, I believe it's Bulls Hawks tonight.
Nope.
No.
It's the Western Conference
Oh, okay.
tonight.
So Lakers Pelicans first.
Yeah.
All right, that one. Let's just go around first. Who do we got?
I'm going to take New Orleans in this game solely because they're at home, and I think that the league, any chance they get of having a Steph versus LeBron playoff matchup, they're going to get. And if the Lakers lose and the Warriors win tonight, then that sets up Steph versus LeBron for the 8th seed, which I think most likely will happen. Because, again, the Lakers haven't beaten the Nuggets in over 2 years. They're 0-8, including the playoffs.
Really?
Granted, the Lakers are really, we saw last year they're a good team in the playoffs, but Denver is like the only team in the Western Conference that the Lakers just cannot beat. And I think that if you're the Lakers, I get it's risky, but I would try to lose this game and win the next game so you can face a much easier team in the Thunder. Not saying that they're worse, but they're a lot younger. They have a lot less playoff experience. So, yeah, New Orleans were in this game.
I want to go off of your point where you picked the Pelicans, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to go off your point on how the league wants LeBron versus Curry for the last playoff spot. I would almost in a way disagree with that just because I think the league would get more, or they would benefit if both teams got in. I think they're really going to make the Pelicans the kind of like the fall guy in this situation. Like nobody really wants to see the Pelicans in. I think the Lakers are a better team than the Pelicans. So they've got that going for them. I think, if they get Denver, which I'm pretty positive that they will, I think it'll be a little bit different than last year. I think the Lakers could probably win. Granted, I thought they'd win last year. But LeBron's getting old, so this could be one of his last runs towards a championship. Anthony Davis, he's getting old. But these guys, they were all-stars this year, so they're going to give everything they got at this. In Denver, they're kind of young and up and coming. They're the defending champions. So even, and I think, with the Pelicans, I think they get blown out of the water again. I just don't think they have enough to combat the Lakers. But, I wouldn't put it past the Lakers to get to the second round. I think a lot of people would be writing them off just because they're kind of a play-in team.
I think you got to be careful writing the Pelicans off like that because I think sneakily they've been one of the better teams this year in the West, even though now they're in the play-in. But we all know that the West has been extremely competitive. Like, it's impossible to move up spots. But Brandon Ingram has been quietly one of the best scorers in the league. CJ McCollum gives them experience in the playoffs. So does Jonas Valanciunas. And Zion Williamson.
Zion's had a full season finally.
The centerpiece of the team he's living up to what he should be right now. He is consistently unstoppable, especially for, I think, a team like the Lakers where AD is a very good defender. He was probably all defense this year. But that type of player that Zion is, that super physical player, does not match up well for them.
I'm going to have to disagree. And I think CJ, if anybody's a centerpiece of that team, it's CJ McCollum. The Pelicans, their success relies heavily on their offensive efficiency. Like CJ McCollum will have great games and Brandon Ingram will have great games. And then there's other times where, they'll shoot like 8 for 25 or something ridiculous like that, something extremely low percentage. I think their 3-point shooting could be a lot better. Which, you kind of need that come playoff time. And I'm not really sold on Zion. I saw him play in person and against OKC. I didn't really see all that much to him. There really isn't much to his game offensively. He's not going to get back on D. He won't play defense. 99% of his offensive touches are getting the ball, driving it to the basket. And if he doesn't get either a dunk or a layup or get fouled, he's complaining about a foul and he's late getting back on defense. I think, and with regards to how he fits well with that team, I think he's a relatively decent part, or a relatively decent piece. And to say that he has no success, he has nothing to do with their success would be ridiculous. He obviously does. But I don't really see him sort of out-dueling AD or LeBron. I could have probably seen that a few years ago, maybe when he was first coming into the league. But it almost looks to me, and granted, I don't watch every Pelicans game. It almost seems to me that he's kind of lost a step since his rookie year. Like, I thought his rookie year was his best year out of all of these. I know he's been in the league for 4 years now.
So your point about him not out-dueling LeBron, I don't think he can out-duel LeBron. I mean, or AD. But the problem is with the Lakers, it's not just LeBron and AD out on the court. So eventually, when you're looking at these rosters, yeah, the Lakers are the top-heavy roster here, obviously. But you get down through the Pelicans, top to bottom, are a better team, I think. Because once you get past, like, Austin Reeves for the Lakers, that's not a playoff team at all. And I think they're going to get beat depth-wise. Even if they don't win tonight, which I don't think they will, if they go to play, I'm assuming the Warriors, well, it would have to be the Warriors if the Warriors win. I think they get beat there, too, because I don't think their team is built to succeed unless the game really slows down.
Well, two things. I think that, when I look at the Pelicans, and this is national media too, and just like your average fans kind of interpretation of the Pelicans, they view Zion as this kind of like all-star guy, face of the team, and I really don't think there's much to him. I think C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram, if they were to beat the Lakers, would be the reason they beat the Lakers. I think C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram showing up means more to them and would help them win more than if Zion shows up. Like, Zion could get 15 points and they could win pretty well-handedly. And, with regards to the Lakers, they could get beat depth-wise, which is possible. We've seen a lot of teams do that, get beat that way before. But it's almost the same team as last year, and that team went to the conference finals. So I wouldn't rule them out.
Well, yeah, obviously you can't rule out LeBron.
Yeah.
But, Jack?
I was going to say, yeah, I get it. I mean, adding on to what you were saying, I mean, it's hard to rule out LeBron because he's arguably one of the greatest players of all time. But still, I mean, as you were saying earlier, after Austin Reeves, that is not a playoff team. And depth is a huge thing in the playoffs. Because
I'm putting D'Angelo Russell over Austin Reeves.
Yeah, as am I.
I think they're both pretty.
Yeah, they're both decent, but the problem is the next guy up is like Taurean Prince.
Yeah.
Do both of them start?
Yeah.
Along with LeBron and AD? Okay.
Yeah, it's like Russell, Reeves, I don't even know, Rui Hachimura maybe, LeBron and AD start.
I see. To me, that's a decent one.
Yeah, that's a good team. And then the problem is eventually some of these guys have to sit.
Yeah, and then who do you have coming off the bench?
Taurean Prince. Yeah, I'm not.
I'm not very familiar with either roster, but
they're written off so much because they're a playing team, and even looking at how many they won 47 games this year. They're 7-3 in their last 10, so they've been trending upwards. But I think you got to give them a shot. They've got Spencer Dinwiddie. They've got Gabe Vincent. He's been to the finals. Taurean Prince.
Spencer Dinwiddie is getting major minutes.
I
mean, it's not a bad roster, really. I mean, they played really well at the end of the season. It doesn't reflect. but they were 500 at the break, and then they were like a 650 winning percentage coming out of the break to the end of the season, and it didn't reflect because everybody else in the West was just tearing it up as well. But I mean, obviously you can't rule them out. You can't rule any of these teams out. There's maybe 2 teams I'd rule out in the entire West.
What's different, and this could be a bad comparison, but roster-wise, think of roster-wise, not what they accomplish. What is different? And obviously LeBron and AD might not be in their prime. What's different about these Lakers teams than when they won the championship, when they won back-to-back championships with Pau Gasol and Kobe Bryant?
Oh, what?
What?
Okay, that's an insane... Okay, hold on. Let me get these rosters up here. Because that's a crazy question.
There's Jared Vanderbilt, Cam Reddish, Max Christie, Gabe Vincent. I mean, that's who you're relying on your bench.
See, you want like the 2010 Lakers, right?
2009.
2009 Lakers. All right. So
I'm not seeing.
I mean, you've got prime Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
And LeBron is still playing at an incredibly well clip, but he's not in his prime anymore.
Right.
You have, I mean, Trevor Ariza was a great piece. Bynum was a great piece. Derek Fisher, experience at point guard, like a lot of experience at point guard. You had Pau Gasol, obviously, in the prime of his career. Lamar Odom was like 6th man of the year, Lamar Odom, right? I mean, a bunch of solid guys. And, of course, this Lakers roster also has a bunch of solid guys, but they're just not as good. Like, they don't mesh together as well, is what I'm seeing here. And also, I think the competition above them is a lot better. And obviously, these Lakers were the 1 seed, right?
Yeah.
So that's your answer right there, is that the 09 Lakers were a good team. And they played really well the whole season. And this Lakers team has not played well the whole season. And they're not coached very well, frankly, either. I think that's a big one, is Phil Jackson and Darvin Ham.
Coaching, I think, is irrelevant when you come
That's
to
just not true.
It's not?
Yeah, because Taurean Prince still gets minutes, and he's terrible.
So let me ask you this. Coaching-wise, I can't see it because I've seen these... You know,
can't see the difference between Phil Jackson and Darvin Ham?
I never said that, and I'm merely comparing rosters. Jason Kidd led the Bucks to the playoffs as a head coach. David Blatt went to the NBA Finals, so I don't think it's a matter of coaching, but I don't know. I think when I look at this current Lakers roster, you know, I don't think it's as bad as people are putting it. Like, I think Russell and Reeves can get you 25 a game on a certain night. I think LeBron's going to get 30. Anthony Davis can get 25 and 15. And then Spencer Dinwiddie can put in another 15. If they do that, then Taurean Prince doesn't need to...
I understand what the peak of this team is. The problem is all the teams above them are just way better.
Does that include the Pelicans?
I don't know if I'd say way better, but the Pelicans are certainly on par.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely agree. You know, the West is very good this year.
And I don't want to sound like a small market victimhood guy here, but if this Lakers team wasn't the Lakers and they weren't in LA, they would be getting slammed for how mediocre they are. Like, it serves a lot of benefit for these major outlets to like hype up the Lakers. You know, they're just a big brand. They bring a lot of clicks. But then if you the main thing I'm looking at here is that the 47-35 record and the 8th seed. That's what it is, which isn't a horrible season. 47-35 in the East could have got them the 5 seed. It's just the West is more competitive. But also, they're just a pretty middling roster, if you really look at it.
Yeah.
I think for the regular season, maybe, but I think it's a whole different game in the playoffs.
I mean, obviously, but then that logic applies to every other team above them as well.
Yeah.
I think the logic there, when you say it's a whole different ball game, is that the roster shortens to like 9 guys, and the game slows down, and the stars take over, and that applies to every single team above them too.
I disagree. I don't think it applies with Oklahoma City. I don't think it applies with Minnesota.
I think
Who's
it
the 4
definitely
seed?
applies with Minnesota.
Minnesota's got nothing.
What?
I think when you look at their roster, they've got, and granted, okay, Cat and Gobert have been in the league a few years.
And Anthony Edwards
Honestly,
has experience. Mike Conley is one of the main keys to their success. They've got great defensive rotational pieces.
right, but when you look at the Lakers, they've got veteran guys, and the teams that are more well-rounded and more experienced tend to do well in the postseason. Why is it every year that the Heat almost get to the finals or come up a series short of the finals? They have an experienced team. That team last year, they had guys that knew what they were doing. Butler, Bam. These guys have been in situations like that. Tyler Hero, granted he didn't play the finals. These guys are finals experienced. I think LeBron, Anthony Davis is, LeBron is. All these guys and who might not be as good as some of these other players, they've been in the league for a while. Like Spencer Dinwiddie's almost maybe over a 10-year vet by now.
He's not.
Tarian Prince has been in the league for a while. So I don't know. I think it's hard for me to look at the Lakers and not think conference finals. I think they would have to at least win two.
I understand your logic with the roster, but then the problem is that logic applies to every single other roster too. I mean, Minnesota and OKC are obviously the two outliers because they're just good young teams, and that'll change, I think, in the playoffs. But even Minnesota has a lot of experience on their roster. But a team like, let's say Los Angeles wins tonight, and that's another thing. I don't think you should ever be throwing elimination games. They come up against Denver, I think they lose to Denver. I think if they come up against OKC, they're going to struggle with OKC at least, and then the next time up, they're going to have Phoenix or Dallas, I think, right? So whichever way you spin it, they're coming up against very experienced teams with a lot of star power, and I don't think they're constructed well enough, and LeBron can't carry anymore. I think he's the greatest of all time, but he's just not physically able to put a team on his back like he used to be able to.
So you said something about throwing play-in games?
Okay, so there's a lot of talk about they should lose this game and then win the next one to try and avoid Denver and get OKC instead. But the problem with that is if you lose this one on purpose, now you're playing in an elimination game against probably Stephen Curry and the Golden State Warriors. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
And speaking of Golden State, I want to touch on this for a little bit. And, a lot of people didn't pay attention to the Warriors. So they came in at the 10th seed, right?
Yeah.
And they have the same record as Sacramento, correct?
After the All-Star break, they finished like 25-15, by the way, and they still barely snuck in.
Do they have the same record as the Kings?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. So Sunday was the last day of the regular season, and the game should be starting, so we're going to change to that soon. But I wanted to talk about Golden State for a minute. They rested Steph Curry against the Jazz in their last regular season game. If they would have won and Sacramento would have lost, Golden State would have been hosting a play-in game. And I, kind of brought this up to a bunch of people, and they told me, oh, well, it doesn't really matter. They wanted to rest him. But the play-in game, especially that one, the 9 versus the 10, that's essentially a game 7, right? Win or go home. Wouldn't you rather want to play a play-in game at home versus on the road? And it's not like Curry's
here's
injured.
the problem. You lose that game anyway, and now Steph Curry's off a day of rest, and you're still going to Sacramento. They're also only going to Sacramento. That's like an hour and a half away from their home stadium. They're not traveling.
Yeah, that's not far, at all, compared to the Lakers having showed in New Orleans.
You could travel 15 minutes away from your home stadium.
I understand the stadium thing, but the stadium thing, when you're as experienced as Golden State, is not as much of a factor. Especially because the Golden State fans are going to travel well to Sacramento.
Yeah,
right. So it's barely an away game. It's about as close to a home game as an away game gets.
I wouldn't underestimate the Sacramento though, the crowd, because they have a crowd.
They do. They do.
They do, but
I don't know. I just want to bring that up because I would have played them. And granted, even if they would have won and the Kings would have won, it would have made a difference. But I don't know. I just wanted to bring that up.
I mean, yeah, the game's about to start. We'll go through that as things update. But let's move over to the East here a little bit. We've got this is the most uninteresting set of playing games I think I've ever seen. Yeah, Atlanta, Chicago. I'm pretty sure Atlanta's going to take that one because Chicago's one of the most sorry franchises in the whole league.
Here's the thing. Atlanta, they're 10 games below 500 for a reason.
The Bulls are 1 seed ahead.
I get that, but I trust us to win at least one game in the play-in. Before losing to most likely Miami, because it's how it went last year, and that's how it's going to go this year.
Well, and I think the Sixers are underseeded just because of the Embiid injury. They lost a lot of games while he was out. I think they're going to be deadly, and I think if they beat Miami tonight, they're going to give the Knicks a lot of problems.
I think they beat New York. I think they beat New York in like 6 or 7.
Yeah, because they don't really have an answer to Embiid because Randall's out now too for the Knicks.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Randall would have been an answer for Embiid.
Randall's not really an answer, but he's an offensive output match, right? So now they don't really have that. They have Brunson, but let's say Brunson's shot's not falling, then it goes to what? OG Anunoby, who's fine, but he's not a playmaker like that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I've got there. We can get into some of these series. I think that's a little more interesting than the play-in, if we're being real.
Yeah.
Bucks Pacers. What do we think?
So this is the thing, and this kind of ties into the Knicks, I think. I would have, on Sunday they played the Bulls, I would have intentionally thrown that game to get the 3 seed to play Indiana rather than Philly or Miami. But I don't know, I think the Bucks should sweep the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Giannis is out for I think the first couple of games.
That's the problem, right? Is that also Doc Rivers has done an awful job with this team because they had 30 wins when he got hired, and they were 50 games into the season, and then they finished with under 50. That's a horrible collapse. And you're playing a high offensive output team in the Pacers. They've got Siakam, who has experience against Giannis in the postseason. And I would say the Bucks are probably still going to win this just based off pure roster talent alone. But then I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think it's probably going to go to 6.
Yeah, I think Indiana will steal a couple. I think with Giannis out in one of the first 2 games, Indiana will steal in Milwaukee. Because Halliburton's going to have some ridiculous game, I think. And then that sets him up for possibly winning games 3 or 4, if not both. So it could be interesting. With Giannis out, look what happened last year. Giannis was out for 2-3 games against Miami, and Miami won the series in 5-6 games, was it?
Yeah. If Giannis's injury is more serious than they think, which I don't think it is, because I think if he wanted to play, he could. They just want to avoid anything with the Achilles, obviously. I think the Bucks probably take this in 6. Up in the bracket here, we got Cleveland, Orlando. Okay, I want to say this about the Game 82 stuff and how it always, people are always trying to play the system and throw the bracket or whatever to try and get a better matchup. Cleveland really sold the bag on this because they could have ended up matched up against the Pacers.
On Sunday, we've got to come out. We've got to hit first.
Okay, Jeff, I don't think you can play that. I think that's going to get us taken down.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just playing.
Yeah, okay. But as I was saying, right, they could have had the Pacers if they had won that game, and they subbed out their whole lineup against the Hornets, and now they're playing the Magic, who are, granted, a younger team. They've never really been to the playoffs with this roster. But that's going to be a real grit and grind series that you're not going to want to play because then most likely you're going into a matchup with the Celtics, which is not great. Even if the Cavs do match up decently with the Celtics, it's still that's not where you want to be. And they could have had the 3 seed going into a series against the Sixers or the Knicks, who granted are both tough opponents, but not the Celtics.
I don't know. I think Orlando or Cleveland, I think they'd match up well against Boston.
I think this one's going 7, though. This Magic Cavs series, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think a lot of
definitely
series are
see
going
them
to go both conferences.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, some of these ones over in the West are pretty good, too.
Like
Yeah.
Dallas LA is going to be interesting.
Dallas
Luka
LA would
for
be good.
Kawhi. Luka Kawhi round 3 is going to be fun.
Is Kawhi hurt?
I don't know.
I think I saw somewhere he had swelling in his knee, but I didn't know if it was going to keep him out.
Of course he does.
But I also like this Minnesota-Phoenix series.
Oh, I don't know if this is breaking news or not, but Kawhi Leonard will get the final Team USA spot.
That's good.
I like that, yeah.
I like that.
They're going to have a decent team.
Nobody's beating that team if they stay healthy.
No. I mean,
That's this summer, too, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I just yeah.
Let me
I
see.
want to ask about the East. If the Heat lose to Philly and they get Boston again, 8-1, who do you think comes out of that series?
Oh, wait, are you saying if Miami beats Philly?
If Philadelphia beats Miami and then Miami beats either the Hawks or the Bulls and they get the 8 seed, and I know it's like dealing in hypotheticals, but who do you think has the better shot? Because the Heat beat them last year, but
No, Boston beat them the year before.
Kind of go back and forth.
I think the Heat are not as good as they were last year. By
No,
any
I
stretch.
completely-
They have taken a
no.
massive step back, even if they're in the same spot record-wise.
Yeah, I just think, I mean, Boston being, what, like 63-19 or something like that?
Yeah.
I think,
something.
I mean, I get it. They're going to have a shit ton of pressure because they're the best team in the league. But I just don't think Miami has enough to even really. I mean, it'll be close because they're always competitive. I could see it going 7 because the last 2 have gone 7. But I think it really could. It could end in 5, realistically, because Miami is not the same team as they were the last 2 years. I mean, granted, playoff Jimmy Butler is still ridiculous, but I mean, you can't just rely on Butler and Adebayo every game, because
I mean, yeah, that's true. Especially
eventually
Adebayo. I think
teams are gonna-
Adebayo has taken a huge step back.
yeah, and especially because
Yeah, I
teams
think
are going to like easily read that and just lock those 2 down, and Miami's got nothing.
And I also think Boston would make it a point to come out and nail Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, and it's interesting though because you look at these 2 teams. This is kind of the first like in-conference rivalry we've had for kind of a long time. I can't think of teams that went back and forth like this.
I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of
Recent history
Yeah, I
in the
guess-
same conference.
in the last,
I mean,
7 or 8 years? Yeah, I don't think so.
I was thinking,
guess maybe
10 years.
Clippers, Mavs, but like there hasn't as
Not even really that.
because they've always been in the first round. So
Yeah. I mean, you could say, like, Toronto and Cleveland when LeBron was there, but that
Was
wasn't
that
really a
really
rivalry. That was more of just a ownership.
beatdown.
Yeah.
exactly, LeBron owned Toronto.
I don't know. It's interesting because you think of rivalries, and this has kind of been the rivalry. And
Yeah,
you know, in the regular season, it's sort of kind of swept under the rug, I guess. And then if they get in the playoffs, it's like this is the game to watch.
Mhm.
What they've been to the conference finals, like 3 times in the last like 5 years or something like that.
Right.
They played in
Yeah.
the bubble, and then 3 and 4 years.
Yeah, they've played each other quite a bit. They've got kind of a rapport, and it's for the most part been the same roster as well.
yeah.
And they've all been 7 games, correct?
I don't know.
I
I don't know the last 2 were. I don't know about the
Oh, really?
Bulls.
believe so.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm working on. I'm gonna put up the GameCast here, not the broadcast. I'm gonna
Miami won in
put it on the screen.
Miami won in 2020. They won that series in 6.
They won it in 6. Okay.
Yeah, they were up
They had 2
3-1.
years, going back to back.
Yeah, I mean, it
7.
sucks. It won't be 3 this year. Most
They
likely
should
not.
They should beat Boston 2 years ago.
They should. They were at home in Game 7 and they lost. They almost won, but Butler tried to play hero ball and it didn't work.
The Celtics to me are interesting because ever since 2011, 2012, they make the conference finals a lot, and they never advance to the finals. They had the back-to-back years in 17 and 18 where they lost. Again in 20, and then 2020, 2023. So I don't know. It's interesting. And then they lost to the Heat in 2012, so they've lost. They've missed out on the finals quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, and then they got their chance 2 years ago, and they let Golden State just do whatever they wanted. Jordan Poole.
That was a bad choke of a series.
That was a bad series for them because they really kind of had it, and then they really gave Steph Curry a lot of leeway, and he ran all over them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Golden State, I think they just dominated they dominated in the West, I think, that year.
Not even really dominated. They just kind of were the most experienced best team.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Dallas in 5, who came off I mean, granted, they're probably exhausted from having to beat Phoenix. It was in 7 games, so. But, I mean, yeah. I mean, the amount of times Boston has fumbled going to the finals is insane.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say fumbled, just straight up lost.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I thought maybe the Knicks versus Hawks could be something after the 2021 series, but, I mean, they never really played again.
Well, I think there's animosity there, but they don't play enough for it to really be a rivalry.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Cleveland, Orlando could be something.
Yeah, that could be in the future.
But, I mean,
I don't know. I think that rivalries used to be so much more apparent 10 years ago.
no, they're nothing now. I mean, you don't really see rivalries.
Well, a lot of rivalries have been inter-conference.
I mean, there's Bulls-Bucks, but, Milwaukee's just
Bulls-Bucks is not a rivalry right now. It's a historical rivalry, but not a real one. Because there's no contest.
I guess, yeah. I mean, 2022 was
I don't even think the Bucks and the Celtics are. I think that's just 2 decent teams.
I mean, maybe Milwaukee, Boston, but I'd say it's obviously more Miami, Boston.
Yeah, definitely.
So we're sitting at 20. We're sitting at 21 Lakers, 20 Pelicans. Right now, LeBron James, he's got 3 points. Davis got 5. D'Angelo Russell's shooting well right now. So I think we're probably going to be in for a tight one.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, so I think maybe Dallas Phoenix was, sort of something.
I want to see a Dallas Phoenix rematch.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think it goes to Dallas.
Is Phoenix going to beat Minnesota?
I think they win in 5. Realistically, they should sweep them, but I'll say 5. 6 would be pushing it. 6 would be a series, but You
I mean,
know,
we'll see though, because Phoenix is not really that good in the playoffs, and again, it's Frank Vogel.
they're not good in the playoffs.
Not really. I mean,
So
after
they went to the
2021,
final.
what have they done?
They went to the finals 3 years ago, and Frank Vogel won a championship.
Frank Vogel's not that good of a coach.
LeBron James won a championship.
Exactly.
Frank Vogel was there.
He
I mean,
coached.
there's a reason LeBron got him fired.
Okay, well,
Frank Vogel is a fine coach, but like
Exactly.
when you're looking at this Phoenix team, you're thinking it's what are Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker.
And Booker. Exactly.
right.
I mean, oh, what they do? Grayson Allen's there too. Signed an extension. But I mean,
Yeah, he's decent. He's really good. This is probably his best year in the league since he's been shooting the three ball so well.
yeah. I mean, I think he kind of just needed like a change of scenery from Milwaukee because he did a lot of like dirty things in Milwaukee, and I don't like him for it, and couldn't really get back on track. So I guess he was kind of. He got traded, I think, right?
Grayson Allen.
Yeah. He was. I think he was included in the Dame trade, right?
He might have been.
Yeah, I think he was.
You know, and they're starting to play defense too, which has helped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Granted, like they haven't played defense all season long, but I think when you're getting into the playoffs, it's like the last few weeks is how you have to evaluate the team.
Yeah. And I think them not having Ayton this year will help because Ayton's horrible.
Well, Ayton was terrible. He was one of the worst number one overall picks there was. He was soft too, which is like.
Oh yeah, he was incredibly soft. He was too scared to go anywhere.
I think Nurkic is a lot better, and Nurkic does the same things as Ayton.
Exactly, and Nurkic is taller too.
Yeah, and he'll pull down like 18 boards a game. He doesn't pull down 18 boards a game, but there'll be some games where he pulls down 20 boards a game, and it's like. DeAndre Ayton would get 12, but he's also shooting the ball a lot more. But Nurkic doesn't need to score. When Ayton was with Phoenix,
Ayton tries to shoot too much, and it screws the team over because they get pissed at him for shooting shitty shots like that he always misses. Nurkic doesn't need to do that, and he'll always just put up shit in the paint.
Well, and they're gonna have to get the Nuggets if they want to go to the finals. So I think Nurkic is a way better matchup for Phoenix than Ayton was against Jokic. Like Jokic, that was like barbecue chicken against DeAndre Ayton. But I think Nurkic gives them like a bigger body to defend Jokic.
I mean, Durant and Booker. I mean, they had to fucking like carry in like against Denver last year. Realistically, Denver could have swept Phoenix, but I think wasn't Murray out for like 2 games or something?
Yeah, I mean, you're not really going to sweep Devin Booker and Kevin Durant when they were shooting like they did.
Yeah, that's true.
And throw in Bradley Beal this year, too.
I think that this team for Phoenix is better than last year's Phoenix team.
Oh,
by a mile.
Yeah. Because they had a whole season to play with each other.
Yeah.
Granted, they were hurt, but that's a lot. Like, they got KD for half a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard to do. That's hard to compete.
The thing is, I don't think they match up well against Minnesota's defense, but I don't think they're going to be able to stop Minnesota very well.
Yeah.
Well, who's to say Minnesota can stop Phoenix?
I'm not saying they can. I'm saying Phoenix's offense matches up well, but the problem is their offense is reliant on jump shooting. So if you're shooting the ball and it just starts to not go in, then you're screwed because I don't think there's any way that Phoenix is stopping an Anthony Edwards-led offense.
Yeah.
I think they'll stop themselves because I don't think Anthony Edwards' problem is that he's not that very efficient.
That's true, but then also you're looking at a team with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker who, when they're not on, are super inefficient.
Devin Booker, maybe. I don't think Kevin Durant.
Anything you can say about why Devin Booker is good can be applied to Anthony Edwards and vice versa. I mean, except for maybe the athleticism.
With Booker, yeah, I don't think that's there with Durant though, because Booker can struggle and he'll score 11 points. But Kevin Durant can miss 15 shots and still get 30 points.
Well, so that's exactly what I'm saying is if he misses 15 shots and still is getting 30, then that's inefficient. That's hurting the team.
What do you guys think the one team that could beat Denver in the West?
I think there's a lot of teams.
There's a few teams who could do it.
I'm sure,
I think the Clippers could do it. I think the Lakers could do it. I think Phoenix could do it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Denver's not as good as they were last year, but they're still really good.
I think
the Warriors could beat them.
Okay, I think the Lakers could do it.
I don't see it.
Any of Phoenix, Dallas, or Los Angeles, or the Clippers could do it if they match up against them. I mean, I'm not saying I would favor them in a series, but it could. Like, I could see it going down. And I think Minnesota could do it.
Yeah. How do you think Minnesota or Denver in the second round would go?
I think Denver would win, probably. But I think Minnesota has the pieces to where if they go on a heater, they can take down Denver.
That's true, yeah. I can see that. I would personally like to see a Denver-Dallas conference finals. Or Denver-LA.
Yeah.
Jack, what about OKC?
I mean, they're good, yes. But, I mean, they're really young, and it's hard to go far as a young team in the playoffs. I mean, we saw it last year with Memphis. Saw it like 2 years in a row with Memphis. They're just not. I mean, they're not built to go far. And I think Oklahoma City, is better than those Memphis teams were. I mean, because obviously they're the 1 seed. But I just think Oklahoma City, I think they'll win their first round. I do. But I think it'll be a similar situation to how Utah had it like 3 years ago. And they were the 1 seed, and they had LA or Dallas in the second round. And LA wound up beating them in like 6 games. Because LA was just a more experienced team, and they were playing better. And they knew how to stop Utah. I think it's the same thing this year. I think OKC will win their first round series in like 6 games, I'd say. But then I think Dallas or LA will beat them in the second round.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I could see. I think that's a reasonable take.
Yeah.
Right,
who do you think would come out of the East if Boston were to lose?
I think either Orlando or Cleveland.
Yeah, I think New York has the team to do it, but I don't see them getting past Philly, assuming Philly wins. I think Philly could do it as well, but we know their struggles, obviously. But the coaching is different. Nick Nurse is experienced.
He's a lot better coach.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually will be really interested to see how Nick Nurse will do, because the Sixers were horrible in the playoffs under Doc Rivers. I mean, Atlanta beat them in the second round like 3 years ago, setting up a shitty conference finals. And then Philly.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I didn't know
Nick Nurse coaches.
Yeah, that's interesting.
You didn't know Nick Nurse was the Sixers coach?
No, I didn't.
Really?
Yeah. I had no idea.
Okay.
Learn something new every day.
Indeed you do.
Yeah. I mean,
coach.
We saw it like 2019. I mean, he took Toronto to the finals.
Yeah, but that was Golden State would have swept them if they were healthy.
That's true.
Not swept.
You texted me this the other day. Jonas Jerebko is not winning you a title.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to me because, they had like their entire team go down with injuries. Like literally everybody. Curry was hurt. Thompson was hurt. Durant was hurt. Iguodala, like everybody was hurt.
That's
and
true.
Jonas Jerebko, and
you had Quinn Cook out there taking
real shots, winning you finals games.
Yeah, I really think
head-to-head. them. Like the Raptors, like barely got out of that series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they needed the luckiest possible shot to even beat Philly in the second round.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what happens if that shot doesn't go in? Philly might win that series.
Yeah, I would.
I don't know.
I
It's just.
I don't think they've got anything in their tank, Philly.
I
I don't see their ceiling. What's their ceiling? A championship? I can't see
I think
that.
so, because I think Joel
I
Embiid is
think
just
so.
that good.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of their team. Talk about roster. Their team's terrible roster wise.
It's not the best, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's got
Got it.
pieces, but it's not super deep.
I mean, there's Maxey, who's probably going to finish second in most improved player. Behind
Even though Kobe White should be most improved player.
he's done well.
I think he will win. I don't know.
He's
I don't think
He
I,
should.
They're not great.
Maxey, I think, is a better player than Kobe White, but I think he's making the jump that everybody thought he would make. I don't think that's really most improved player type of stuff.
Exactly. And I mean, no one expected like anything out of Kobe White this year, and it just came out firing. It was good all year.
Well, they expected him to do well like 3 years ago, and it took him a while to get going, but he's finally, showing flashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not too little too late, obviously, but still, I mean, later than I wanted. But, I mean, from watching the Wizards game, the Bulls-Wizards, I think it was like Friday, Adama Sanogo can fucking play. He's really good. Same with Dalen Terry. But again, Donovan just refuses to use the young guys. He never puts them in.
They're in the play-in. They're trying to win a championship. Like, I know they're not going to, but that's the goal right now for them. So why would he? Why would he burn minutes on guys that aren't going to play?
No. I'm talking about.
I hate to break it to you. He doesn't play them because they suck.
Yeah, I know. Game 82 is not a good sample size. He can't ball because he got 20 and 20 in Game 82. Peyton Pritchard turns into prime Kobe in Game 82. I mean, they don't play because they're not good NBA players. I'm sorry.
No, I've seen Flash. Terry has played before. I've seen flashes. He's pretty good. He doesn't get enough minutes to keep improving because Donovan doesn't want to play him.
Yeah, but they don't get minutes because they're not good.
Terry's not bad.
You don't just get minutes because you're young and you have to improve.
You also don't,
especially because you're on a team like the Bulls where you could make the playoffs, and you are making the playoffs or the play-in, I guess. But like, it's the same thing with Patrick Williams. I see this thing on Twitter, and it's like, what a time to be a Chicago sports fan, and it's all these young, good players they have. And one of them is Patrick Williams, who's been in the league for like 4 years and done what amounts to nothing. Like
that was the worst third overall pick I've ever seen.
He's not been a good player, and I see the physical potential, but at what point do you have to cut these guys loose because they're just not good anymore?
I think Williams needs to be just
with all these guys. With all these guys, you think that are good just because they're getting a few minutes in games. That doesn't necessarily translate to like start me or play me. Like, they see these guys in practice. Like, it's not just games that they're trying to, like, I guess, prove themselves. Like, it's not a result of them playing like 3 minutes. It's the result of them practicing. These coaches see things in practice. So they're obviously not that good at practice, because if they were, they'd be getting more minutes.
I also think Zach LaVine needs to go. I mean, I've been trying to say this for a long time. He just does not fit this team. He tries to shoot way too much, and he's a ball hog. No one likes him. And he's just not that good at basketball.
I mean, that's fair, I guess.
Is he going to play?
No.
No, he's out for the season. Same with Williams. Williams and LaVine have been out for like 4
That's the
months.
other thing. Patrick Williams doesn't even play. He can't get minutes because he doesn't play.
No, he got hurt.
Patrick Williams was also not good when he was healthy.
No.
You can tell if a guy's good, and I'm not saying he needs to go for 30, but like just like his player build, like you can clearly see like the eye test. He doesn't even pass the eye test. Like, he's a decent defender, but you need to score in today's game. And if you don't have that, then you're really not going to amount to much.
100%.
There are 3 players that I think the Bulls need to just get rid of this offseason. Levine, Williams, and Vucevic. I mean, those are 3 obvious answers, I think. But still, I mean, people are going to say, "Oh, Williams is still young; he can get better." He's been in the league for 4 years, and we've tried to work with him, and he's just not
Alvarado
fucking good.
And D'Angelo Russell just picked up double technical foul.
What happened?
I don't know. Something went down.
Of course, it was Alvarado.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like that annoying guy that he's feisty. It's smart to do what he's kind of doing, sort of sneaking up and just taking the ball. I'm not like when they're taking up the court, but still, no one likes that kind of player. I guess. I mean, Caruso's kind of the same, but like he's a lot
Jose
better.
Alvarado has a gimmick that people don't like, even though it works. But that's it. And now there's a ref review. I think some call probably went down, and then Anyway.
Yeah, as I was saying though, I mean, people want to say Williams needs more time. He's been in the league for 4 years. We've given him enough time. He's shown nothing. I don't want to deal with him anymore. He's not good. Please send him to fucking Washington or Detroit. For all I care, or have him just ride the bench for the Lakers or the Warriors. Same with Vooch. I just can't handle him because he shoots stupid threes, and he's really. Vooch just cannot hit threes as consistent as I would like. 1 and 2, he doesn't play defense.
He's also old.
Exactly. I mean, people are trying to hype him up.
You shouldn't expect much.
No, I shouldn't. You're right. But still, I just don't think he should be on this team. I mean, he's one of these guys that just like brings the team down. Levine does that same thing too. I think what they need to do is build around Kobe and Io, keep Caruso and DeRozan as well.
Okay,
for like 2
Io's
veterans.
not that great either. I feel like he gets a lot of love because he's from Chicago, but he's fine. He's not great.
Or Caruso.
Caruso is a fine defender, but he is not, like, he's replaceable.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, I like his energy alive, and I don't know why. It's just a fun guy to have on the team.
So Zion's got 10 points already. D'Angelo Russell has 13.
Yeah. I think I saw something when DeRozan had like played the most minutes out of it was insane. I don't know what I saw.
All right,
Here's the thing, though.
Let's get some other conversations going here. So there's like there's 3 legitimate MVP candidates right now. I think in everybody's eyes, and it's Luka, Jokic, and Shea.
I think solely because Shea got the 1 seed, he'll get MVP. I think it should be Jokic, but I'm just going to say that because SGA got the 1 seed, I think he'll get MVP.
Jeff?
And then I think it should be Jokic.
I don't know about SGA or Luka. I don't know. I think it's a whack MVP race. I think it should go to Jokic, but nobody stands out to me.
I mean, I can't believe
SGA is a merchant.
I think SGA is 3rd out of those 3 easily for me.
Yeah, probably so.
I would agree, but like, I agree. SGA is 3rd out of those 3, but I'm saying that I think he'll win solely because his team got the 1 seed, and is like the main reason that they're this good.
Didn't Jokic's first MVP come when his team was the 6th seed? So the voters are really inconsistent about whether they value the best player on a good team or if a player dragging their team up. Because the Mavericks, it's interesting with Luka because I don't understand why he's not the runaway favorite. He almost averaged a 35-point triple-double. His team is the 5th seed, right? Which people were always dragging him like, oh yeah, well he's putting up 35 points, but his team's the 9th seed, so does it really even matter? And then they go on a tear. He's playing excellent. He's playing in tandem with the rest of his team. And they're the 5th seed now. They're jumped all the way up. And he's still moving down on the MVP ladder for some reason. I don't understand it.
Well, I don't understand how they pick 3 guys anyways. I don't like that throughout the course of the season, people just start like picking guys that like do well.
I think at this point, who else is it? Like, I think it really should just be Luka in the conversation. He should have run away with this thing a month ago.
Yeah. Shut up, but he didn't. Who do you guys?
What about like?
Who do you guys have?
What about like MVP-wise? What'd you say?
Go ahead. You're talking to MVP. I'll get to my deep.
Like, why is it always 3 guys, and why does it seem like, the media, not media, but like overall coverage determines who the best player is? Like, we come down to like these 3 guys every year, which like seems to me like they're picked out of a hat just because they're doing decent.
Luka's averaging 35, 9, and 9, by the way.
Yeah, and Jokic is still being Jokic.
Okay,
so then it should
here's
be those
my thing, right?
Guys.
Realistically, this year it should have been Jokic, Luka, and Embiid, but Embiid got hurt. Like, Embiid was playing better this year than he was last year when he won, but Embiid obviously is ineligible. And they tried to force Tatum in there for a little bit, and then right when the Tatum MVP agenda was picking up, he put up like 3 or 4 stinkers in a row, and that kind of knocked him out of it.
Yeah.
But I think it's not even 3 right now. It's manufactured to be 3, but realistically, it should just be Luka and Jokic. If we're being real.
Who do you think is going to win Defensive Player of the Year?
Probably Gobert, but it should be Wemby.
Yeah.
I mean, he puts up a stupid number of blocks. He can defend on the perimeter, off the perimeter. Like, there's just nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing else like it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I think that sucks for like guys like Brandon Miller's having a really good year. He's having like a quietly pretty good year, solely because Wemby is just outshining everybody.
And Chet too.
Yeah, I think Miller's above Chet, but still, it's like, I mean, Wemby's just like outshining everybody to the point where like people just already forgot. It's like 3-4 weeks in, people just forgot who Scoot Henderson even was.
Because Scoot Henderson was shooting like 0 for 10.
Yeah, he was not good. Granted, Portland put him in. I mean, Portland was just horrible. And
did you see that guy in Portland missed 15 threes the other day? He went 0 for 15 from 3.
Oh my god, that's just I mean, it just goes to show what Portland is like without Lillard. Or nothing without him.
I want to say something which I don't think will sit well with the both of you. But this is kind of back to the MVP conversation, and I think this is true for all sports. I don't think there should be an MVP award each year.
What?
Like, if nobody deserves it, then they shouldn't give one. Like, for the NFL, like, the level of, like...
Okay.
You know...
Can I just point out something logically right there? Okay, what does MVP stand for?
Most valuable player.
Okay, most valuable player. That's a superlative, right?
Yep.
Like, most valuable. Just because they're not as good doesn't mean they're not most valuable. Right? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you compare some of these recent ones to 10 years ago, it's like not even close.
I'm not really disagreeing with you, but it says most valuable, not better than the year before.
I think the award means much more than whoever wins it. Like, in other words, like, you could have somebody who's the most valuable player, but in terms of the award and what it carries, like, it doesn't really seem all that great.
Well, in terms of what the award is worth, in my eyes, it's declining a lot because what I'm seeing, right, is there's a massive influx of former players in the media. And this is more general. This isn't targeted specifically at the NBA MVP. But just in general, I've seen a lot of former players running like hit pieces and trying to disparage current players' achievements to try and like shield their own legacy. Shaq has been doing this for 15 years.
Trevor Ariza, I think, was doing it too.
Where he will talk smack about other big men on his massive platform because they're succeeding, right? And,
yeah, and there's someone else.
A lot of former NBA players do this. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
When Gilbert Arenas goes in and says Nikola Jokic is not a statistically... Okay, I understand what you're saying, but people listen to these and they form their opinions based on this. And it's Gilbert Arenas saying Nikola Jokic is not a statistically good basketball player, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
First of all, here's the thing about Gilbert Arenas.
I
don't know who gave him a microphone, but they need to take it away.
Here's the problem with it, and here's the reason why they do it. You ready? Gilbert Arenas, and I don't know, Shaq is just being Shaq. But guys like Gilbert Arenas, people forget that Gilbert Arenas used to be like a top 10 player in the league because it was so long ago, and he knows that. So he has to say things that make him relevant again. Even if it might not be, even if it's the most outlandish thing ever. Because a lot of these guys
a lot of guys are doing this.
Right, but it's for the exact same reason, because they can't handle not being the talk of the game anymore.
Yeah.
People have moved on.
That's the problem. That's why the MVP is losing relevance, is because it's voted on by these guys. Kendrick Perkins has an MVP vote.
So is Stephen A. Smith. He didn't even have Luka on his ballot.
I'm okay with Stephen A. having a ballot. When he does stupid stuff like that, I'm not okay with it. But I think MVP should not be done by the media. All NBA should not be done by the media. There should be a selection panel picked by the NBA. The media should not be picking these awards.
I mean, doesn't the MLB have a selection panel for all this stuff?
What?
I think the MLB has a selection panel, right?
No, MVP is votes.
No, MLB.
Oh, MLB. I don't know how that works, but I'm talking NBA.
The thing
right?
about
NBA, they need a panel for this. They need a panel for All NBA. They need a panel for All Star. Because I'm so sick and tired of this stupid voting slips from NBA or media members, right? Like,
well,
how
the
can
problem with the Stephen A. and Perkins is that these guys, they get on television, and it's almost like Stephen A.'s case. He thinks he's a celebrity, so he has to go out and do these things. They relish in it.
Yeah, but
and it's a
how can you claim to like love the game, right? Like these guys do, and be experts and analysts, and then seriously with a straight face go put in a ballot that has Luka not in the top 3 for MVP? Are you kidding me?
They don't though. They don't do it with a straight face. They do it because they get
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And, well, this extends also. I've seen this with Hall of Fame voting, specifically in the MLB. Did you see the guy from Philadelphia who sent in a ballot and it was just Phillies players voted for? And Adrian Beltre was on the ballot and he should have been first ballot. I don't know. It's kind of a tangent, but it was ridiculous. Like, how can we give these guys ballots?
Yeah,
they don't take it seriously.
It's just, I guess it's the same thing for like All-Star and shit, because like fan voting has kind of ruined that type of stuff.
All-Star, I don't even mind it. All-Star, I mind it a little bit because that's career. Like, it changes your career if you make an All-Star game. Same with All-NBA is specifically where it gets bad, because you've got media members who really, a lot of these guys don't watch the games, and it's pretty obvious that they don't watch the games, and they're voting on All-NBA, which is, All-NBA is one of the massive pillars on which NBA contracts are constructed. and how much you can give a player is determined by if they've made an All-NBA team or not.
Mm-hmm.
So how
Like,
much?
there's
How would
some
you
seasons
fix it?
where like
You need a
guys like
panel. You need a
LeBron-
rotating panel of people selected by the NBA that aren't in the media. They don't stand to gain anything by making a stupid choice.
Yeah.
So because I don't think you can have fans do it because fans almost voted Zaza for the All-Star
I don't
game
want
in
fans to do it.
2017.
I want a private panel to do it.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think
don't
that's
think
the only way to do
media,
any of this stuff.
Mhm.
the media, especially in basketball, it's so much more like
Polarized.
thrown out there than it is at like other sports.
Mhm.
And I don't know. The NBA has a lot more marketable much more marketable talent than
because you see their faces,
Yeah.
right? The NFL's different in the sense that, yeah, players are marketable, but at the end of the day, if you put a different guy out there in the same jersey and helmet, the average fan probably isn't even going to pick up on it, right? Because you watch football for the team. Sometimes you'll watch for a player, but you're watching for the team. The NBA is one of the rare sports where you're getting people watching specifically for players. And they're very out there.
Yeah.
The NBA makes the most money. Right? Tobias Harris is like the fifth option on the Sixers. He makes like $45 million a year. It's ridiculous.
It's just a much more individualized sport.
It's a
Why
more
is
individ- you're right,
Tobias
it's a more
Harris making
individual-
$45 million a year?
That's a different story, but you get what I mean, right? Like your NBA role player is making like 15 a year, which is more than a lot of NFL players make. It's more individual, right? And then you end up in scenarios where individual awards mean something, and then all these guys who are scared of these individuals taking over their legacy or surpassing them get really salty about it, and they get really bitter.
Well, I think they're bitter because that they have an ego. Basketball players is ego, and this is universally basketball players have the biggest ego, in my opinion, out of any sport, just because it's so much about them. And the thing with Shaq is really weird because this whole thing with Shaq kind of started when he'd be dissing on Dwight Howard, with like the Superman beef.
Well, because
like,
Dwight Howard was inserting himself in a part of the game where Shaq had been the most recent dominant center, and then it was Dwight Howard. He got upset. He got upset about it.
And it doesn't help that he was playing for Shaq's team. And I think this is a different argument, but I think Howard is better on the Magic than Shaq was on the Magic.
Well, I think another part of that, specifically with Dwight Howard, like that little personal beef he seems to have with him, is that Shaq, when Dwight Howard came into the league, Shaq was kind of on his way out, and Dwight Howard kind of took over that best center title from him. Like, he ripped it out of his hands, basically.
Yeah. It's not like that. I think that's where it started.
Mm-hmm.
I think for Shaq, I don't know. It's almost like, in a way, it's a failure to recognize like big man talent.
Yeah. Well,
and
he also wasn't he the one that called Europeans not tough?
Did he?
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't him, but you get the idea. Like, he doesn't like Rudy Gobert either.
Well, he doesn't like any big man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I think in his eyes, and I can't speak for Shaq, but nobody is looking at the next good big man and saying he's better than Shaq. Nobody was going and saying Orlando like prime Dwight Howard is better than prime Shaquille O'Neal. Nobody's saying prime Jokic is better than prime Shaq. Like, it's...
It's hard to compare them because they play such different styles and eras, but...
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, big men in general, though. I don't know. It seems like he gets a sense of if there's a new big man, it's like a threat to his throne.
Yeah.
Like that, which is ridiculous because...
because he's not even on the top. Almost everybody has Kareem over him. What throne is he defending? He's defending the second or third place throne for greatest center. Like, what are we even doing here?
Yeah.
Well, I think he's probably better than Kareem. I mean,
it depends how you want to gauge that, but we're not going to really get into that.
Well, and I think the thing with Shaq, too, is that his physical appearance is what kind of stands out. Because, he was like a solid 300 pounds
At least.
in the league. So I don't know. It's a very weird thing because it's almost like every good big man, it's like Shaq has to take a crap on him.
Yeah. I want to.
It's also interesting because, and this physicality thing, right? You see Wemby is like the exact opposite, where he's really skinny. And Wemby might very well, he's probably going to end up being better than Shaq all time, if we're being real. Like, just based on what we've seen this season. I don't know if I mean, granted, I don't watch inside the NBA really, but I haven't seen Shaquille O'Neal take a dump on Wemby at all, which I think is good because I think he's finally recognizing talent, right? Because everybody knows that Wemby's going to be the best player in the league within a couple of years, probably.
Well, I don't think Wembanyama's a similar thing as Shaq. Like,
no, he's not, but he plays the same position.
There's nobody that plays the true center anymore.
There's a few guys that play the true center.
Gobert, maybe?
Gobert plays the true center. I think as close as you can get to how it is now, just based on how the game has evolved. I think Gobert plays it. AD plays it.
Anthony Davis, though, is more of a power forward.
Kind of, yeah. Jared Allen plays it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm just trying to run through here. I mean, some of the other guys play it like that are more role, like Jonas Valanciunas plays it, Nurkic plays it, Domantas Sabonis plays it.
Yeah, and the guys that they say centers today, like even Jokic and Wembanyama's kind of same thing. These guys are like they're like passing bigs. They're like facilitators.
Well, they're the same thing. Like Sabonis and Jokic specifically are that same archetype of like super strong rebounding big, but then they can also pass, which just makes them that much better.
Yeah.
But that also doesn't true center.
How does a true center not being able to pass make them not a true center?
Historically, the true center wasn't like stepping out and shooting mid-range.
Historically, nobody was stepping out and shooting. I mean, you can say historically all you want, and we can bring it back to dribbling with hands behind backs. Like
right now they are, though. Right now they've started to do that a lot more.
Right, so eventually at some point, the true center is going to be compared to Jokic.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it has to be.
But
because
I don't think
Bill Walton was doing that in the 70s.
Bill Walton is
post-up player, though.
Yeah.
All Jokic does is post up.
Who?
Also, Bill Walton did bring the ball up sometimes. Bill Walton is the comp, right, to Nikola Jokic. And I think if Bill Walton had stayed healthy, we're looking at the same conversation of where the center position is evolving faster, but he didn't, and the trend never caught on. And
well, I just think it's a position that evolved, and
all positions have evolved. I mean, except maybe small forward.
Okay, I want to get you guys' opinion on this.
I think center the most, though.
Is this the worst draft class in NBA history?
No,
I don't.
Anthony Bennett
understand.
went number 1 overall.
I don't understand the draft anymore. I watched the Wemby draft, and it doesn't make sense. All these guys are like European now or from the G League.
Yeah, there's no good American players anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like the best American player this year is probably what? Let me see.
I mean, is that Matas guy American technically?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in
probably him. He's gonna be 1, right? I don't know.
No.
He had an earth science.
That's 20. No, it's not Montage. He's fallen. Alexander Sharp.
Oh, I don't know who that is.
Center from. He's legit just a Wemby clone but younger. He's from.
The draft doesn't have any personality anymore. There's no hype. I don't care about it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, especially after.
Yeah, I mean,
it's so weird because I don't understand where these guys are coming from.
Yeah, well, I don't get the G League thing.
The G League thing is stupid. I mean, that folded, so we'll probably see more college guys now, but I just don't.
Yeah, the Ignite. Yeah, didn't they like shut down the Ignite?
They folded, yeah.
I think it's also a problem because of the what the hell was that rule where you can't, the high school rule, you can't come out of high school anymore. There's a name to that. I think that's what kind of screwed it. I mean,
Also NIL killed G League Ignite because the point of G League Ignite was that you could go make money before being able to declare, and then NIL came out like 2 years later and just killed the whole concept because now you can just go make more money at Duke than playing for the G League teams.
yeah, but I mean, let's be honest. Once you get to the league, that's a little bit. That's better than the NIL for college.
NIL, okay, people misunderstand this. I think NIL doesn't mean you're getting paid money by the colleges. You're allowed to go get brand deals.
Right.
Brand deals don't go away when you get drafted. This is what
Right,
I
no,
don't understand. Is people
that's-
talking about like this Caitlin Clark contract, and people are saying like, why would she go play there when she's making more money with NIL? She keeps the brand deals.
Yeah.
She's not getting paid by Iowa. She's getting paid by people who want, like, I mean, obviously it's still kind of shady with how it's done, but brand deals are where she's making money.
I mean, you guys. I mean, honestly, the NIL kind of like the direction it went and the direction it should have gone are completely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because the direction it went was like, look at Ohio State for football. They can just buy anyone they want.
So
I mean,
Alabama.
Also, if you're playing basketball, you're not playing for
you don't have like the
Football
funds
is
as
very
much as-
different because football you have to stay in college for 3 years. Basketball you only have to stay for 1.
Well, with basketball, you're not playing to get NIL. You're playing to get to the pros.
Yeah.
Like it's also like a different. It's different. Like
Football.
Then again,
Football you're playing to earn as much money as possible now because you don't know how long your career is going to be. Basketball you kind of have a little more future planning going on.
yeah. I mean, but there are some guys like, I guess. Well, no, this is basketball, but do you guys know AJ Stewart, that guard that played for Wisconsin?
No.
Okay,
I don't know any of these guys. Like,
okay,
I know
he was
more
one of
WNBA draftees than NBA draftees this year.
Yeah.
He's not going to the draft. Basically, he entered the transfer portal. He was one of Wisconsin's best players this year, and he wants $1 million minimum from whatever school he goes
See,
to.
that's
Kansas off,
because then that's just
Kansas
boosters giving him money.
and then Kansas offered him $750,000, and he declined.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I'm sorry, if I'm getting offered $750,000 to play at Kansas, I'm taking that deal immediately.
Yeah. Anyway, 2:53 left in this first half of the Pelicans-Lakers game. Lakers are up 52-44. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up for tonight. We might be back once the play-in is over for our like final predictions. But we will see you guys another time.